It's a two-person race for the Democratic primary. We have a choice between Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden. I'm not going to, I understand feelings are very high right now across the board. I do think feelings and, personal energy needs to be subordinate to a existential election and the bigger questions surrounding it. So I'm going to give you my analysis across the board, including things, frankly, that the Sanders campaign has done that I think are mistakes. But I do know that this is actually incredibly close. This is a marginal delegate count difference. The most significant state on Super Tuesday, by far, was California. Bernie won that by a significant margin. And this still will be the enduring story of this election, incredible organizing in the Hispanic community, not brokered through elites, not by certain discourses and signaling and this and that, but by grassroots, serious, deep, respectful, bottom-up, centered organizing.
He lost to Hillary last time.
He lost to Hillary last time in California. So we move into the industrial Midwest. Joe Biden is definitely more popular than Hillary Clinton. I think a lot of folks, and I've tried to say this for a long time, and I will take, an unpleasant noting of what I've said for a long time. Joe Biden's pretty popular. He's pretty popular across a broad swath of voters. Now, we would like to think that because he was an architect of the prison industrial complex, because he was an ardent advocate of war, because he's probably made you much more likely to be drowning in medical and credit card debt, that would do the job, but it has not. So we need to be very strategic and very clear in the coming weeks about how to deal with Joe Biden, including the fact that, yes, he is a very weak general election candidate against an increasingly commanding president in terms of poll numbers. I think that this clip from 2016, and I want to just get back to the very basic things of the Sanders campaign. We've gotten way too obsessed with the mistakes they made in 2016. Sanders did a lot of things right in 2016. And a much more, and this is going to become less of a punchline, frankly, a much more awake and clear-speaking Joe Biden recognized that in 2016.
If Bernie Sanders never said he was a democratic socialist, based on what he's saying, people wouldn't be calling him a democratic socialist. That's how he characterizes himself in sort of European terms, the democratic socialist parties in Europe. But
why is she having trouble?
Well, I think that Bernie is speaking to a yearning that is deep and real, and he has credibility on it. And that is the absolute enormous concentration of wealth in a small group of people, with the middle class now being able to be shown being left out. There used to be a basic bargain. If you contributed to the profitability of an enterprise, you got to share in the profit. That's been broken. Productivity's up. Wages are stagnant.
Hillary's talking about that as well.
It's relatively new for Hillary to talk about that. Hillary's focus has been on other things up to now, and that's been Bernie's. No one questions Bernie's authenticity on those issues.
And they question hers, you think?
Well, I think they question everybody's who hasn't been talking about it all along. But I think she's come forward with some really, really thoughtful approaches to deal with the issue. But I just think, and look, everybody, it's the old thing. Everybody wants to be the favorite. No one wants to be the prohibitive favorite. Mm-hmm. And so it's an awful high bar for her to meet.
So 3 really quick things, and then please jump in, guys. 1, it's stunning, the disparity between Joe Biden in 2016 and Joe Biden in 2020 as a speaker and in his cognitive capacity. 2, he's 100% right about what Bernie identifies in terms of the core defining crisis of our time. Especially, look, if your primary concern is poor and working people, that is my primary concern. I think actually that's quite clarifying. There's a huge amount of issues that are profoundly powerful and important, and they overlap and they have interconnection. But at the end of the day, that is my primary concern. 3, Joe Biden is now virulently fighting against the solutions to the crises that Bernie's talking about. And at the flip side, there's another deep yearning in the country right now, and it's clear in the Democratic electorate, which is sorry to, and look, this is what the folks on my part of the left need to get very real about. But also, it's not the woke posture stuff. It is the Whole Food moms and an anti-Trump base. Biden builds could boost Democrats in November. Now, I think there's question marks around that, but that is the 2018 electorate. That is a broad set of people that don't like Donald Trump and don't want just sort of, an obscene mess on television every day. I think that the Bernie Sanders campaign, tactically and strategically, in this very specific regard, has to figure out a way in the coming weeks to thread and actually connect those two critiques. We are going to be decent in the White House relative to Trump. Now, again, that doesn't mean we're not going to campaign, doesn't mean we're not going to critique other candidates, so don't misinterpret what I'm saying. But there isn't going to be what repulses you about Trump is going to be taken care of, no matter what the media says. And that's going to be a hard push. And part of the context for all of this stuff that you don't like in this country right now that is exemplified by Trump is because of all these other problems that Joe Biden is not going to do a damn thing about. And they may not be of immediate concern to you, as suburban affluent voters say, but they connect and are inescapable from what you don't like. It's a tough task, but it's doable. Bernie has no one has more credibility than him on it. But we need to, and also as supporters, folks need to think very, very tactically. We've been way too indulgent of certain arguments outside of the Sanders framework, Sanders campaign, and way too dismissive and not cognizant of others. Do you guys have anything you want to jump in on that?
Nothing particularly, only that it's a shame he didn't actually run for president in 2016 because he would have been much better than Hillary.
If Joe Biden ran for president in 2016, he would be running for re-election right now. There's no doubt about it. I mean, I think Bernie absolutely would have. I think he definitely would have beat Trump in 2016, but Joe Biden would be president right now.
And frankly, like that's a piece of information that low information voters think, right? Like that he would have won in 2016, and I think that's frankly as much. I mean, the Obama thing is also big too, but there's a lot of people who thought like I would have voted for Biden, but I left it blank because of Hillary.
100%.
And I think that's
100%.
It's tough.
Absolutely.